Are you struggling to enable CORS in your ASP.NET Core Web API? You're not alone. Many developers face this challenge, especially when trying to connect their client applications hosted on different domains. Stick around, because today we will walk through the steps to get CORS working seamlessly. I completely understand how frustrating it can be when your API refuses to cooperate. You've spent hours trying to set it up and it just won't work. This is a common issue, and I'm here to help you solve it. Let's dive into the specific situation. One user reached out saying they have an ASP.NET Core Web API hosted on Azure, but their client application is hosted elsewhere. They need to enable CORS to allow cross-domain requests, but despite their efforts, it just won't work. Sound familiar? Let's explore this together. So what exactly is CORS? Cross-origin resource sharing is a security feature that allows or restricts resources requested from another domain. If not configured correctly, your API will block requests from your client application, leading to those frustrating errors. And make sure to stick around until the end. I'll share a pro tip that can save you a lot of headaches when dealing with CORS in the future. To enable CORS in the ASP.NET Core Web API, the user should start by adding the CORS services in the startup.cs file. This is done in the configure services method. Next, the user needs to configure the middleware to use the CORS policy. This is done in the configure method of the startup.cs file. After setting up the CORS policy, the user should ensure that the policy is applied to all controllers. This can be done by adding the Enable CORS attribute to each controller or action method. Finally, the user should test the API calls from the client application. They can use tools like Postman or the browser's developer console to check if the CORS headers are being set correctly. Fun fact, did you know that CORS was introduced to prevent malicious websites from accessing sensitive data? It's a crucial part of web security. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative solution provided by another user suggests adding jQuery support for CORS by including the line jQuery.support.CORS equals true before your AJAX call. They also recommend checking the data being sent to the API, as it might be causing issues. Additionally, the user provides a custom JSON implementation for stringify and parse functions, which can help ensure your data is correctly formatted before sending it to the API. Now, let's shift our focus to a different response. An alternative approach to enabling CORS in your ASP.NET Core Web API involves creating a custom CORS middleware. This middleware checks for the origin header in the request and verifies if it is allowed by consulting a database. In this middleware, if the origin is allowed, it adds the necessary CORS headers to the response. If the request method is options, it responds with a no content status. Otherwise, it proceeds to the next middleware. If the origin is not allowed, it responds with a forbidden status for simple requests or no content for pre-flight requests. This method ensures that only specified origins can access your API. That's the end of that answer. Let's see another perspective. An alternative solution shared by another user involves configuring CORS directly in the Azure App Service settings. They found that by adding the domain from which they were making requests in the CORS settings, everything started working smoothly. That's it for that response. Let's explore another one. An alternative solution provided by another user emphasizes the importance of the order of middleware in your ASP.NET Core application. They suggest placing the useCORS method before the use authentication and use authorization methods. That's it for that response. Let's explore another one. An alternative approach to enable CORS in your ASP.NET Core Web API involves modifying the launch settings JSON file. Set anonymous authentication to true under IAS settings. Then, in startup.cs, before adding MVC services, define a CORS policy that allows any origin, specifies allowed headers, and permits any method. Finally, ensure to apply this CORS policy before the MVC middleware in the configure method. Here's the pro tip I promised. Always test your CORS configuration using tools like Postman or your browser's developer tools. This will help you quickly identify any issues. And there you have it. With these steps, you should be able to enable CORS in your ASP.NET Core Web API successfully. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more troubleshooting tips.